One of the things that I wanted to talk about this morning was some soft skills. And a lot of people fail a lot of times in their careers because they don't toot their own horn. They don't toot their own horn. A lot of people say, okay, well, what is tooting your own horn, Antoine? Is that bragging about yourself? Being a braggart? It can be if you don't do it the correct way. Nobody likes to have people bragging about themselves all the time. But you got to remember, guys, in the corporate world, you are competing. You are competing nonstop. You're competing with your peers. You're competing with your managers. You're competing with other folks on your team. And it is essential that your manager or the people on your team know what success that you are having on your projects. So you have to toot your own horn. And what do I mean by tooting your own horn? Well, tooting your own horn is letting others know about the successes you've had on a project or a particular assignment. So one may say, we've completed this warehouse implementation. Okay, that's the team's overall goal and so forth. Well, what is it that you've done for that warehouse implementation? Well, I may say something like, I was responsible for making sure that the receiving of all the goods that came into that warehouse was put away in X amount of time. That's bragging. Beating a record that we haven't seen into this facility at all with 100% accuracy. That is letting people know that you've done something very, very well in that project. And that's also tooting your own horn, saying something like, hey, this was the best that we've seen in this facility. Or, for instance, I toot my own horn in my current role. I've made the President's Club 2 years in a row, and I'm on my way to making it 3 years in a row. So I keep my managers, my leaders, everybody above me very in line with that. We just went through a reorganization. My manager reached out to me, well, my VP reached out to me, right? It's like, Antoine, I just want to get to know you. We're going through a reorganization, blah, blah, blah. Love to know my team and so forth. And he asked where I'm from and all this other stuff. And I said, hey, Al, one of the things that I'm going to be looking forward to is another international assignment. I've already talked to, Michael and so forth about this. I'm going to be requesting this when I meet, when I hit the President's Club 3 years in a row. And I've done it the last 2 years in a row and so forth. That is tooting your horn. That is tooting your horn. That's saying to them what you are good at. That's saying what your accomplishments are and so forth. And what that does is that allows for them to see what you're good at. To see what results that you have, to see how good you are in that current role. And you need to do that in order for you to get the visibility that you need, in order for you to get placed into positions of potentially being promoted. Here's another thing. A lot of people think that tooting your own horn is just for performance reviews. Well, it's not the case. It's not the case. Yes, it is. It can be for performance reviews, but a lot of times it's not the case. Let me give you an example. You are going for a promotion. You want to increase your salary. You are talking to your manager and so forth, and you're getting ready to embark on a performance review that's annual or something like that. So you've prepared all information that you need to go into that meeting to let your manager know all the things that you've done that was very good for the organization for that year. So you have a list of 12 different things, right? That's completely fine, okay? You're prepared for your performance review and to go in there to try to get your raise. Well, what happens if there's an event that goes on and your manager is supposed to be there? You are then the person that's tagged in line to go to that event for your manager because they get sick or something like that. You go to the event, you sit down at a nice table, and let's just say your CEO does a nice little walk around to try to get to know who the employees are of the company that he hasn't had an opportunity to speak to yet, or he just doesn't have an opportunity to talk to on a day-to-day basis, or whatever it is. So he comes to you and he says, hey, Antoine, how are things going with the company and all this other stuff, right? How's your department doing? That's a lot of things. That's a lot of times CEOs will say that. They will come to you and say, "How's the department doing? What's your role in the organization, and how are you doing in that role?" Well, if you don't have anything to say, if you don't have anything to say to him, and you are tongue twisted, he's not going to look at you in a good light. Or if you have something that's corny to say, hey, things are just good, or you keep it short, you don't boast, you don't brag. No, that's your opportunity to toot your own horn. Hey, you know what? Let's just say your CEO's name's Michael. Hey, guess what, Michael? We just completed this implementation, and we completed it ahead of schedule. And one of the reasons that we completed it ahead of schedule was because I went to meet with a customer, looked at their project plans, and saw an area that we can actually get rid of because it was duplicated. That's tooting your own horn. Or you can say something like, hey, you know what? Our organization is the best that it's ever been. And here's the reasons why. We met every statistics, or we exceeded every statistics that we had, every objective that we had by 10%, right? That's an opportunity for you to boast. That's an opportunity for you to toot your own horn in front of your CEO. That's an opportunity for them to see how much work that you're doing in that organization, so that they can actually, they recognize you and recognize your performance. If you don't do it, guys, nobody else is going to do it. That's the thing. If you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. This is another reason why I love YouTube. Is because it gives you an opportunity to talk about your successes on a platform where people are going to listen to you, and eventually they may collab with you. And when they introduce you, they're going to introduce you by what you talk about yourself and how you talk about yourself. For instance, the other day, I was on Blind Guy, his wife, their life, Corey and Laquita's show. Right? In my channel, in my videos, a lot of times, I talk about career success, career advancement, but I also introduce myself as a millionaire, right? So, of course, on their channel, they introduced me as a millionaire, somebody who talks about career success and somebody who's had a lot of career success. That's tooting your own horn as well, too, guys. That's tooting your own horn. That's putting the right words in people's mouths. You have to have control over what people think of you, how people perceive you. And that is a part of tooting your own horn as well, too. You don't want to be a braggart, right? You only want to do it in certain situations. You don't want to be that person when you're around people all the time and all you do is brag, right? Oh my God, I did this. Oh my God, I did this. Because nobody's going to like to do that. It should be subtle. It shouldn't be anything that is too complicated. It shouldn't be anything that is too boastful, right? It should be in a perfect situation, and you're going to know it's a perfect situation because typically you're going to have to do something like this when you're around somebody who you're rubbing shoulders with, somebody who you want to be around. And you don't have to constantly do that. You don't have to introduce yourself all the time with your accomplishments. You don't have to do it that way, right? You just have to make sure that you are letting people know, your managers, your leaders, and so forth. Whenever you get that opportunity, it could be, just for a quick minute, you talk about yourself really quick, and that's it. You don't have to constantly go around and every time you see Jordan, you're talking about yourself and you're boasting and bragging about what you just did today. Don't do it that way. That's boasting, that's bragging, and nobody likes a braggart like that. But here's the other thing. One thing that I want you guys to take away is this. If you don't have anything to brag about, you need to start to create things to brag about. And how you can do that is start writing down your accomplishments on a day-to-day basis. People that I know who get promoted quite often and who are looked at as people who are influencers, they have a list of accomplishments that they achieve, whether that's weekly or whether that's daily. And they write them down. And the reason why they write them down is because it sticks in their mind. It sticks in their mind, right? I come to you guys just about every single live stream talking about some success that I've had in a coaching client or with a coaching client, or increasing the patrons, or looking at the YouTube numbers and it growing and so forth. That's talking about your latest and greatest accomplishments. It's talking about your latest and greatest accomplishments. But that's also keeping it fresh. And what I would advise for you guys to do is when you're tooting your horn, make sure it's the latest and greatest information. So make sure you write down some of your successes, your accomplishments that you have in a given week. Update it. Update it every single week, because otherwise, if you don't update it, if you don't write them down, you're not going to have much to say. And a lot of times people don't have anything to say, although they're doing good work. And that's the reason why they go overlooked. That's the reason why they go and quit their jobs, because nobody else is going to look at that or look at them for those roles. And nobody else understands that they're doing that sort of work. You had Steven on yesterday, right? So Steven said something during the live stream. He said that he was closing over 100 cases a year. That is what you call tooting your horn, right? He was having success in this role where he was at the company prior to the new company he was at. He was achieving or closing over 100 cases per year, which was an all-time high, right? So he was a leader on that team with the amount of cases that was actually closed. That is tooting your horn. That is tooting your horn. That's sharing with people that you've done a good job and you're doing wonderful things for your company. You want to make sure that you do that. Otherwise, you're going to be that person that, is constantly going to be overlooked. No matter how much success you have, no matter how much you contribute to the team, if you don't do that to the right people, you're going to get looked over.